In the dimly lit saloon of Abilene, Kansas, the air hung thick with the scent of whiskey and tobacco smoke. The flickering gas lamps cast shadows on the worn wooden floor where the laughter of gamblers mixed with the melancholy notes of a weary piano. In the corner, a tired saloon singer named Lila stood on stage, her voice carrying a heaviness that spoke of long nights and unfulfilled dreams. Her dress, once vibrant, now bore the dullness of countless performances, and her eyes reflected a world of weariness. Lila had been singing in this saloon for years, hoping for a spark of luck to change her life. Each night, she felt the weight of her debts pressing down on her like an anchor. The gamblers who frequented the saloon showed no mercy, always eager to take advantage of a woman in need. She often spotted them eyeing her with a mix of pity and disdain, as if her struggles were just another entertainment for their amusement. As she belted out her heart-wrenching ballads, Lila's gaze wandered past the noisy crowd to the entrance. There stood a gray drover, silent and still, his weathered face obscured by shadows. He was an unremarkable figure, his clothes were plain and his hair streaked with silver. Most patrons overlooked him, but Lila had learned not to expect much from anyone, especially not from men who looked like they had seen better days. Despite his humble appearance, there was something steady about him. He seemed to guard the door not just from the outside world but also from the chaos inside. While others shouted and laughed, he remained calm and watchful. Lila didn't see him as anything significant, he was just another face in the backdrop of her difficult life. But as the night wore on and the tension in the saloon grew thick with worry over her accumulating debts, Lila could not shake off the feeling that perhaps this quiet cowboy had a story hidden beneath his surface. Little did she know that soon enough, he would prove to be more than just a watchful presence, he would become her unexpected savior. As Lila continued to sing, her focus flickered toward the man at the entrance. The aging cowboy, who appeared to be in his 60s, stood with a stoic presence that seemed out of place amid the lively chaos of the saloon. His gray hair flowed back in untamed waves, framing a weathered face marked by deep lines of experience and hardships endured. He wore a simple hat that cast a shadow over his eyes, making it difficult to read his expressions. His clothing was plain and functional, faded jeans and a well-worn shirt tucked into a leather belt that had seen better days. Yet, there was an undeniable strength in his posture. He held himself tall, as if guarding more than just the door. Lila couldn't help but notice how unremarkable his features were. No striking jawline or handsome grin to catch anyone's attention. To the patrons rushing past him, he was just another dusty cowboy, one of many who drifted in and out of the saloon, hoping to escape their own troubles for a while. The way he watched over the entrance intrigued Lila, though she quickly dismissed any thoughts about him. Why would she concern herself with someone who looked so ordinary? Her life was filled with difficulties that demanded her full attention, and she simply didn't have time for anything or anyone else. The gamblers seemed to possess all the allure, their smiles bright with promises of quick riches. The gray drover remained in the background like an old tree, sturdy yet unremarkable. But as Lila sang her haunting melodies, she found it hard to ignore him entirely. There was something almost comforting about his stillness amidst the swirling laughter and clinking glasses. He was a constant in an unpredictable world, unassuming but steadfast. Though he wouldn't have been labeled as handsome or charming by most, she felt an unexplainable sense of calm from his presence. In that moment, Lila realized that perhaps she had been wrong to overlook him. Beneath his dull exterior lay a depth that few would take the time to discover. Little did she know that this unremarkable man was destined to play a pivotal role in her life when her troubles reached their peak. As Lila's song drew to a close, the buzz of the saloon heightened, and a new wave of gamblers entered, their laughter echoing off the walls like thunder. She sensed a shift in the atmosphere, an electricity that made her stomach twist. Among the newcomers were two men whose eyes gleamed with mischief, and Lila instinctively knew they meant trouble. Seated at a nearby table, they exchanged furtive glances while counting piles of coins and chips. One man, tall and lean with a slicked-back hairstyle, caught her gaze and smiled thinly, an unsettling gesture that made her heart race. The other, shorter but broader, leaned back in his chair with an air of authority that rattled her more than she cared to admit. Suddenly, one of them pointed toward Lila. "Look at that fine lady," he boasted loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Perfect for our game tonight. Maybe she would like to join us." Lila's throat constricted as the laughter grew louder around her. The mention of her name felt like a noose tightening around her neck. A flicker of panic surged through her as she recalled the note of debt she owed. It was just a piece of paper, her lifeline tangled in a web of debts. But now it threatened to be something much worse if these men had their way. Before she could gather her thoughts, the lean gambler gestured toward one of the goons lurking at the edge of the room. "Let's settle this once and for all," he said with a malicious grin. "We'll take her note off your hands. Call it a transaction." Lila's heart sank as she understood what they meant. Selling her note meant losing control over her fate. It would be passed from one unscrupulous hand to another. She felt adrift, trapped between the music that once brought her joy and the horrifying reality that now loomed closer with every heartbeat. In that moment, desperation clawed at her insides. She scanned the room for help but saw only indifferent faces amidst empty drinks and laughter. Panic seized her if she could not find a way out before these men decided what would become of her future. But just as despair settled in, she caught sight of the gray drover by the entrance again. He stood there watching, calm yet alert, a steady presence amid the brewing storm. For reasons unknown, she found herself hoping he would somehow step forward when everything else seemed lost. As the tension in the saloon mounted, the gray drover's demeanor shifted from passive observer to someone filled with quiet resolve. He sensed Lila's distress and the looming threat of her note being sold to men with ill intentions. A flicker of determination crossed his face as he stepped away from the door, drawing himself up taller against the encroaching chaos. Despite being overlooked by others, there was a fire within him, a deep-rooted sense of justice that sparked at the thought of Lila suffering due to her misfortunes. He knew the stakes were high and time was not on their side. With a quick glance at his horse tethered outside, he made a decision that would change everything. He strode toward Lila with purpose, breaking through the noise of laughter and clinking glasses. The brief eye contact they shared spoke volumes. She saw something in his gaze that gave her hope and unspoken promise that he would not let her down. "I can fix this," he said quietly, his voice steady but low enough for only her to hear. Without waiting for a response, he turned and hurried out into the crisp night air. His heart raced as he mounted his horse, adrenaline pushing him forward. The moon hung high in the sky, illuminating a path that stretched like an open invitation into the darkness beyond Abilene. He could hear the sound of galloping hooves echoing in his ears as he kicked his horse into a brisk canter. The night air filled his lungs as he rode with determination. Every ounce of strength in him was focused on winning back Lila's debt at cards. He had spent years honing his skills playing poker during cattle drives where fortunes could change faster than the wind swept across the plains. More than just winning money, this was about restoring her hope and proving that one person could still make a difference. As he rode deeper into the night, doubts began to creep in. What if luck didn't favor him? But pushing those thoughts aside, he tightened his grip on the reins. The thought of Lila's plight spurred him on. No matter what it took or how long it took, he was determined to face whatever awaited him at those tables and return victorious for her sake. In that moment, he embraced his role as her protector, a silent knight riding against adversity under a starry sky. Under the dim lights of a rough-and-tumble gaming hall, the tension crackled like a summer storm as the gray drover settled into a chair at the card table. The atmosphere was thick with smoke and suspense, a stark contrast to the steady resolve that radiated from him. Around the table sat a group of seasoned gamblers, their faces hardened and eyes sharp, while stacks of chips were piled high, a testament to their confidence and greed. With a steady hand, the cowhand shuffled the worn deck, his fingers nimble and sure despite years of labor. He had faced down many challenges in life, but this moment felt different. Each shuffle echoed in his ears, a rhythm that matched his heartbeat, reminding him of what was at stake. He glanced across the table at his opponents, noting their sly smiles and quick glances. They suspected nothing of his skill or determination. As the cards were dealt, he allowed a calm exterior to mask his focus. He carefully assessed his hand, seeing both potential and peril within it. The other players laughed and bragged loudly, but he remained silent, observing them with keen eyes that missed nothing. The game quickly evolved into a battle of wits. Bluffs were thrown around like confetti at a parade. The cowhand held his ground, quietly matching their bets, his expression unreadable. He was more than just a dull-looking drover. He was a strategic player who understood that poker was as much about reading people as it was about the cards themselves. When one of the gamblers attempted to bait him with inflated bets, he leaned back slightly, allowing a subtle smile to form. It was a test of nerves, and he wouldn't blink first. Then came the crucial moment. He pushed all his chips forward in one bold move, a gamble that sent gasps around the table. The other players shifted in their seats uneasily as he revealed his cards, the winning hand that took everyone by surprise. Cheers erupted from onlookers nearby while defeat hung heavy in the air for his competitors. For a brief moment, he caught sight of Lila's hopeful face through the crowd, and it gave him strength. This wasn't merely about winning her debt back, it was about showing her that strength comes from resilience, no matter how plain or unassuming one may appear. As chips flew toward him like high-stakes treasure, he felt something shift within him, a sense of pride and purpose that surpassed any illusion of being ordinary. As the cheers from the crowd echoed around him, the gray drover collected his winnings, a triumphant grin spreading across his weathered face. The sight of Lila's note, now freed from the clutches of greedy gamblers, filled him with a sense of accomplishment that went beyond mere victory at cards. He had not only redeemed her debt, but had also lifted a weight off her shoulders. With the tension in the room dissipating, He pushed back from the table and made his way through the cheering spectators. Each step brought him closer to Lila, who stood at the edge of the gaming hall, her eyes wide with both disbelief and awe. The glow of the gas lamps illuminated her features, revealing a mix of shock and gratitude that made his heart swell. "You did it," she exclaimed, her voice barely above a whisper filled with equal parts surprise and relief. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for the note he held out to her, as if touching it would confirm that this was real and not just a dream born from desperation. "I said I'd take care of it," he replied simply, his voice steady but warm. In that moment, he felt more than just satisfaction. He could see respect blooming in her gaze, the admiration for someone who had fought for her when she thought all hope was lost. Lila's fingers brushed against the worn paper as she accepted it, a tangible symbol of her newfound freedom. She met his eyes, and in that exchange, something profound shifted between them. She saw not just the gray drover but a man of resilience and courage, qualities she had overlooked before. The ordinary facade began to fade away, revealing the extraordinary heart beneath. "Thank you," she breathed, sincerity woven into every syllable as emotion choked her words momentarily. "I didn't believe anyone would help me." He shrugged lightly, as if dismissing her gratitude. "I'm just keeping my promises," he replied, his gaze unwavering. In that instant, Lila understood there was more to this man than met the eye. He was far from dull or unremarkable. He was a steadfast promise amidst chaos, a warrior dressed in humble attire who had fought for her cause without hesitation. As others celebrated around them, Lila felt empowerment wash over her. For once, she believed in herself again, inspired by the quiet strength of a man who had once seemed nothing special but had now become an unexpected hero in her life story. As the celebrations in the saloon began to fade into quiet conversations, Lila found herself drawn to the gray drover, now basking in the glow of his victory. She approached him with a mixture of curiosity and admiration, wanting to learn more about this man who had changed her fate. "Can you tell me about yourself?" she asked, her tone light yet sincere. The drover looked thoughtful for a moment, as if weighing his words carefully. "Well," he began, "I've spent most of my life riding the Chisholm Trail." His voice flowed like a gentle stream, carrying stories from a time long past. "I used to drive cattle from Texas up north to Kansas. It was hard work, long days and endless miles under a blazing sun." Lila listened intently, captivated by the images that filled her mind, vast open plains stretching toward the horizon, cattle grazing against the backdrop of a setting sun, and men laughing around campfires after long days on the trail. "It sounds adventurous," she said softly. "It was," he replied with a hint of nostalgia in his eyes. "There were dangers too, storms that could sweep in without warning, or rustlers looking to make off with your herd." He paused for a moment before continuing, "But it taught me resilience and how to rely on my instincts." As he spoke, Lila felt an overwhelming sense of respect growing within her. The gray drover wasn't merely an aging cowboy. He was a man shaped by life's challenges, a true adventurer whose heart beat in rhythm with the land he had traversed. "What made you stop?" she asked, genuinely curious. He sighed softly, contemplating his response. "The trail can wear you down after years," he said quietly. "And I wanted something different. I thought maybe I could find some peace here." His gaze drifted across the saloon before returning to hers. "But sometimes it seems like trouble finds you no matter where you go." In that moment, Lila saw not just a man who had faced adversity but also one who carried the lessons of his past with him, strength that lay beneath his unassuming exterior. His adventures along the Chisholm Trail revealed a spirit that refused to be broken and an unwavering commitment to those he cared for. Feeling inspired by his story, Lila realized that this ordinary-looking man had led an extraordinary life filled with courage and purpose. Her heart swelled with gratitude. Not only had he saved her from despair, but now she understood deeper layers of who he truly was. A steadfast protector whose past shaped him into someone worthy of admiration and respect. With her debt finally erased, Lila felt a rush of relief that coursed through her like a gentle breeze after a storm. She stood in the saloon, not just free from financial chains, but also burdened by newfound gratitude for the gray drover who had rescued her. As she watched him interact with others, she began to see him in a new light. He was no longer just the quiet man guarding the door, but someone who had fought for her and won. Over the next few days, Lila found herself seeking him out more often. Their conversations flowed easily, filled with shared laughter and stories, each encounter solidifying a growing bond between them. The more time they spent together, the more she noticed how he kept every promise he made, whether it was simple favors or assurances that he would always be in her corner. He was just as dependable in the quiet moments as he had been during that intense night of cards. One afternoon, while sitting on the porch of the saloon, Lila dared to ask him about his life after the cattle drives. He spoke about those sun-soaked days under wide-open skies and recounted tales of both adventure and hardship, the brotherhood forged with other cowhands, and the unexpected visitors they encountered on their journeys. Each story painted a picture of his past that deepened Lila's respect, revealing layers of courage she had not witnessed before. Watching him speak with such passion helped solidify Lila's trust in him. She realized this man had faced countless challenges yet remained steadfast and humble. His actions reinforced what words could not. He was reliable and true, traits she longed for in her whirlwind life. As they laughed together over shared memories from the trail, Lila felt a warmth spreading through her that was wholly new. For the first time in years, she believed someone genuinely cared for her well-being without expecting anything in return. This growing trust nurtured something profound within her. It ignited hope for a future free from worry. While they partnered in laughter and stories, she saw glimpses of vulnerability in him, moments when he spoke fondly of lost friends or reflected on his time on the trail. These glimpses showcased strength wrapped in humility that made her heart swell with admiration for the man he was. Emboldened by trust and mutual respect, Lila understood that their connection transcended ordinary circumstances. It was becoming something extraordinary, anchored solidly by unwavering promises kept and a shared journey toward brighter days ahead. As Lila spent more time with the gray drover, she began to confront her initial perceptions of him. At first glance, his unremarkable appearance and stoic demeanor had led her to dismiss him as just another ordinary cowboy, nothing special about him at all. However, the deeper she delved into their conversations and shared moments, the more those stereotypes began to crumble. During their afternoons on the saloon porch, Lila found herself captivated by his stories of life on the Chisholm Trail. Each tale revealed not only his adventurous spirit but also his wisdom gained through years of hardship and perseverance. The rugged exterior that once seemed bland now spoke of resilience and depth. She could see how hard work had shaped him into a man of integrity. With every laugh they shared and every serious moment they discussed, Lila's initial judgments faded away. She learned to appreciate the nuances in his character. The kindness in his eyes when he spoke about lost friends, the steadfastness of his gaze when he offered her words of encouragement. The gray drover was proving to be much more than just a guardian at the door. He was a complex individual with layers that defied her first impressions. At times, he would catch her looking at him thoughtfully, as if gauging who he really was beyond the worn hat and dusty boots. It made him feel vulnerable yet proud that she was beginning to see past his unassuming facade. He realized that their connection transcended mere friendship. It blossomed into something richer, built on mutual respect and understanding. Lila's perception shifted in other ways too. She began to recognize that strength does not always come in grand packages. The gray drover embodied quiet resilience, showcasing that heroism could be found in the most unexpected individuals. She reflected on how society often overlooked those who didn't fit conventional standards of bravery or charm. Her growing admiration for him challenged her own beliefs about appearances and worth. No longer did she see just an aging cowboy. She saw a man who had faced life's trials without complaint, revealing a heart full of courage beneath layers of humility. This newfound understanding prompted Lila to embrace vulnerability herself. She began sharing her own dreams and fears with him, something she had struggled to do before. In this exchange, they fostered a deeper connection grounded in trust, allowing them both to grow beyond their initial stereotypes and forge a bond built on authenticity and shared experiences in a world filled with uncertainty. As Lila reflected on her journey with the gray drover, she recognized how profoundly her perceptions had shifted. Initially, she had seen him as an unremarkable man, a mere guardian standing at the door of the saloon. But as their relationship blossomed, it became clear that true worth often lies beyond appearances and first impressions. The man she once overlooked had shown her resilience, courage, and unwavering commitment, qualities that were hidden beneath his humble exterior. This transformation in her understanding led Lila to appreciate the ways in which love can flourish in unexpected places. The bond they forged was born out of shared struggles and genuine support. It thrived on trust, laughter, and mutual respect, reminding her that connections formed through adversity often hold the deepest significance. The gray drover had become a beacon of light in her life, illuminating paths she had never considered. With every story they shared, Lila discovered new layers of his character, each tale revealing adventures and hardships that shaped him into the steadfast man he was. She saw strength where others may have seen dullness, a tenacity woven into each word he spoke as he recounted his time on the Chisholm Trail. That depth inspired her. It encouraged her to embrace vulnerability and express her own hopes and dreams. Lila realized that there are many misconceptions about people based on surface impressions alone. Her initial judgment had blinded her to the extraordinary spirit of a man who had quietly fought for her freedom and well-being. In recognizing this truth, she began to let go of her own fears and open herself up to the possibilities of love not defined by glamour or bravado but by genuine connection and understanding. As she looked forward to a future filled with promise alongside the gray drover, Lila felt empowered by their shared journey. Together, they had overcome stereotypes and societal expectations, forging a path defined by authenticity instead. She understood now that true worth is often revealed through patience and understanding, the kind that can transform ordinary moments into exceptional bonds. In the heart of Abilene, where dreams met despair, Lila found hope and love blooming in unlikely places. The quiet cowboy had become more than just a figure in the background. He was her partner, her friend, and perhaps something even deeper, a reminder that life's most beautiful connections often arise when you least expect them. Together, they would face whatever lay ahead, strengthened by their journey and the love they discovered along the way.